13 years ago, my late husband, Dr. John Hicks, and I were giving lectures all over the place. And we were very fortunate to be invited by a group in Hawaii and gave a lecture in Honolulu. At that time, I met a super great mover and shaker, Julianne King, who was representing the Hawaii Autism Foundation. Now, 10 years later, after that first connection, I'm doing my thing on social media, and I make this post that kind of makes me cringe when I think about it now, about somebody asking me the question, how much do you think Joey understands? And I'm like, well, I think it's like, like a foreign language, like you kind of pick up some of the words and you don't really know others. And rather than just kind of clobber me, which I kind of deserved, Julianne sent me this beautiful, sweet message saying, hey, my son, Beau, is a speller, and I'd love to talk to you about it. And I'd love, kind of like she was recruiting me into this new world that I had no idea what it was about. And that was like the very first beginning of it all. And fast forward, and Julianne and I have become extremely close friends. And for those who do follow me on social media, you know that I brought Joey to Hawaii this winter and he had the greatest time of his life. And this is who I was visiting. So Julianne, welcome to the show.
Oh, I love you so much. And
I love you so much.
I just feel like I'm so proud of you.
Oh, girl,
am.
we have had the journey and it's been fun having the journey together. It's been fun to have somebody to talk to. And anybody who is going through the spelling journey really does need to have like someone else
A
to talk
mentor.
about, a
Yep.
mentor in that whole situation.
hmm
So I really appreciate you being that to me.
Of
What
course.
I really want to talk about today was kind of the voices behind the moms. You
Oh,
are a wonderful advocate for getting Beau's message out there, and I try to get Joey's message out there. And I want to kind of bring these voices to the forefront right now and talk about what it is that they're saying, the relationships they're having, and what are their dreams and aspirations for the future. Beau is far much more advanced in spelling than Joey is. So I want you to do most of the talking, but first introduce us to Beau and let us know a little bit more about him.
sure. And I'd say, it's just it's about apraxia. So Beau, first of all, Beau's 25. He was diagnosed with autism at age 3. He had regressive autism. And for most of his life, I didn't know what he understood. I knew that he could understand some things, but we went to every specialist in the country and got so many different expert, opinions. I just thought I'm just going to do the best I can, but I want to maybe have a farm for Beau and, have a peaceful life for him and just make sure he's safe. And 3 years ago, when J.B. Hanley's book came out, Underestimated.
Estimated. Yeah.
Yeah, that book changed everything. I love J.B. Hanley. He's just amazing. He and his son
It's
Jamie
it's it's got
did
to be
such
out
a
longer than 3 years, isn't it? Is
oh
it
maybe 3.5 years. Three and a half
really? Is
maybe.
that all?
I
I don't
think
know.
so.
It
I mean,
feels like
could
it's
be
been a
4 years
long
now.
time.
Could be four. Could be four. But time is
But he
moving
is
fast and
fabulous.
slow. He is. He is. And so what we
Yeah.
did, as we are. We're an island state. We're isolated geographically. And so we
Yeah.
tend to bring experts out to us. And it's, generally people agree when we invite them. And so
Because it's
Elizabeth Vossler,
Hawaii.
I know we're so lucky. So Elizabeth Vossler came out and I listened to her
Ah,
her message, but I still, she's profoundly, she's such a professor,
can
she
we just
was a
say Elizabeth
professor.
Vossler
Okay.
is spelling to communicate leader?
Yeah,
Correct?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Elizabeth Vossler is the woman who started S2C. She started
Right.
spelling to communicate. And so we brought her to Hawaii, and I still didn't believe that Beau was able to spell because there were so many instances where I asked him to do stuff and he just couldn't do it. point to the ceiling, and he couldn't do it. It's like, so did he comprehend what I said? I didn't think so. And
Yeah.
so I didn't sign up for we didn't have an opportunity to see her. And my friend lived down the street who helped me bring her in, and they were hanging out at her pool. And Beau and I went for a walk and went inside to say hello. And she pulled Beau out of the pool and started a lesson, and he started spelling right there at the pool. And it just
Amazing.
changed everything for me. Suddenly it was a lesson about like aircraft carriers. And
Yeah.
one of the questions was, can you think of another word for crowded? What was the word that they use? What's another word for crowded? And he spelled cramped, CRAMPED, cramped.
Yeah.
And it was like, you know,
I,
I screamed at the top of my lungs, and I grabbed Beau. We ran home, and I had to show Dawn,
yes.
and she was on holiday, so she came. She gifted
Oh,
us with coming to
oh,
our house every day for a week. And so our journey began.
that's when it began. Wow.
And,
Now,
and he was 20, he was 20, 21 and a half. So yeah, it was longer than 3
yeah.
years. Yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
But the one thing I really want to mention here, because I feel this is important, because as somebody who's on social media and posting about spelling quite often, every single day, every single post, there's someone who's saying, where can I get a letterboard and start this with my child? And I know that a lot of people are thinking that's what it's going to be, that they're just going to hold up the letterboard and
Yeah,
their
no.
children are just going to start spelling. And I mean, it's rare that they immediately start spelling like that, correct?
That's right. And it was just, yes, it is rare. That's right. Everybody's apraxia is different, and everybody's body is different. And
Yeah,
so she's also she was the preeminent expert in the
right.
country. So she was able to get from him something right away. But that is not the case in general. And it took me, I want to say, 2 years of spelling with Beau, and also getting another couple women in Hawaii to become practitioners, to finally become open with Beau. At least
Yeah,
2 years. 2 years of the motor,
yeah.
the
That's what
motor
it was for us too. It really was
practice,
close to that for us
purposeful,
too.
yeah, purposeful movement, purposeful
Hmm.
movement. It's just creating that creating the myelination, creating the pathways, their neural pathways, to have them control their shoulder and be able to, pull their hand back and touch the letter that they want. Pull their elbow back and touch. Elbow back, touch. Elbow back, touch. It's like
Which
playing the
is
piano.
why, which is a big part of why the vision therapy for us has had to go hand in hand.
Yeah.
Because of the fact with Joey, he has binocular vision where he doesn't use his eyes together. It
Mm,
makes it even harder to touch properly without his
right.
eyes working in tandem. And
Yes.
so for us, we weren't having huge strides
Sure.
until we started the vision therapy and he started with the
Right.
glasses, and that made a bigger difference. Still not over it all.
And
And he still gets incredibly fatigued. I mean, so tired. Like
these
people
guys
say,
work
why don't
so
you ask him
hard.
questions all the time? And it's like at the beginning, especially not where Beau is, but where Joey is at the beginning, it is really it takes everything for them to just
It
attend to
does.
this for like 40 minutes.
Yes. But it's, the most beautiful thing you can ever do with your
I know. I
speaker.
know. I have
It's
I have
like,
session tomorrow. I'm so excited. I get so
yeah,
excited.
I know. It's always a miracle.
So when Beau openly started communicating, what was that like? Now I want to explain the difference for that for people who don't understand what open.
Hmm.
So when you're first starting sessions with a proper trained practitioner, it's all about the lessons. Like you said, it could be on aircraft,
Hmm.
it could be on, some sort of history, it could be on the Great Wall of China, whatever it might be. It's a lesson, and then they are asked to give answers based on the lesson, and that's really an important and integral part of it. Can you just touch that real briefly as to why they don't just start going into open communication?
Sure, it's like learning how to play the piano, like with the questions in the lesson. The
Ah,
practitioner knows what the answer is. So the practitioner or the communication partner knows what the answer is. Then they'll know if they're picking up the three-letter board. So most kids start on a three-board stencil, right? A
right.
stencil board that's divided into
Or
three,
raised letters,
or
right?
raised
Either
if they
way.
have eye issues, more extreme eye issues. And so the practitioner needs to know what the answer is that they're looking for so they can have the board ready, like the board that has the A on it or the board that has the X on it. So that's
Right.
why it's designed that way. And then
And,
as you go ahead.
no, no, no. But I love the use that you're talking about the piano because if you sat down and say write music, that's a
Uh-huh.
very different asking than let's learn music first and then you can write music. I mean, it's really kind of
True.
like that.
True, true. Yeah, I mean, actually, Beau is just starting today is Beau's first piano lesson. So
Oh,
can I say that those
oh,
families out there who do find a piano teacher that is familiar with teaching people with autism, that's a good thing. That's a good thing for our spellers.
yeah,
Anything that you can do to give them purposeful movement and you know he's at that
right,
level now where his
right.
fingers he can control a little bit more. Plus he spelled, "Mom, please, I want to learn how to play the piano and I want to learn how to read music." So
Oh,
you know
that's
um,
so
yeah,
good.
so the piano just is another mode of purposeful movement, and I think that it just must be tremendously satisfying for somebody who's been trapped in their body to be able to
Yeah.
finally do the things that all our speakers out there can ask for and do. So
So with Bo becoming an open speller, what were the first pieces of information that you realized that he had a lot to say?
well, I didn't know that his favorite color was green. So, the thing about my son is an unreliable speaker. So he could say a lot of words. He always
Uh,
would say, with ABA over and over again until he was 21, his favorite color was blue. Always blue. What's your favorite color, Beau? Blue. And getting on the board, I remember that day clearly, where we got onto a 26 letter board. We're on a stencil board still. And so
uh-huh.
I asked him, what's your favorite color, Beau? And he spelled green. And it just floored me. We went out that day, we went to the surf shop, and I wanted to get him as many clothes in green. It's just like, it's so, it's so freaking exciting.
I
It's
know.
so
It is.
beautiful. I just can't even
I
it's the
know.
most beautiful thing ever. So
I
that
know.
was, that's just, I remember that was one of the first. But when we went to see a couple, we went to visit Elizabeth Fossler in Virginia, right outside of DC. And so the first time that he spelled a full sentence was when we went on that trip, and it was a lesson about Shackleton, the the polar explorer, whose
Yes.
boat got stuck in the caps. Terrible story, but at the end of that lesson, um, Elizabeth asked Beau, Beau, um, if you were to name a boat after your family, what would it be? And he spelled absolute love. And
Ah,
of course, I was, you know, crying behind him, just sobbing and just thanking God, like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, my son, he's so thoughtful. And
I
I was like,
know.
after he spelled absolute, I'm like, like, okay, absolutely
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. You always wonder
And
what that next word's
I
going to
know,
be.
because our houses are, there's a lot going on in a full body apraxic home, you know?
Yeah.
So, but
It's
yeah, he
so,
spelled absolute love. And so we have a jet ski. And so we still have to get that name of our jet ski on. Absolute love.
absolute.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's that's perfect. I love it.
I
I love it. And I
know.
love that all of those moments are so monumental for us. And you know what's really interesting? We I don't know if the same was with you, but with me, I would tell people about what Joey would spell in
Oh,
class. And I don't know, I don't think it was only that they didn't believe it. It was just so hard to even comprehend that they thought that maybe I just really wanted to see that, and maybe,
sure.
that
Cognitive
was it.
dissonance.
It's been a
Yeah.
lot of that still to this day
Yeah.
that people are like,
Sure.
that's nice. I'm like, that's nice. Are you kidding
Yeah.
me? It's more than nice.
Yeah. Yeah. Why do I think that's still going on? I just think that it's such a big, huge shift and
For so
cognitive
many people.
dissonance.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
also, I mean, I've heard other moms talk about the shame, maybe. And like, if you really believe that your child has been in there all this
Yeah.
time,
Yeah.
you it's almost like you have to create a whole new relationship, which is what we did. You have to create
It's
a
huge.
whole new relationship with this person who's not an infant. They should not be spoken to and put in front of a TV that's playing Disney. If they're 25 years old, they want to be
Unless they're
exposed
requesting
to,
it. I mean, they
unless
if they're
they're
requesting
requesting
this,
it.
yeah. Yeah.
Sure, of course,
Yeah.
there's that
Yeah.
too. But I think that families, it's almost like another too painful of an experience. And
Yeah.
also, it's just that conditioning going through it for so many years with the school and the doctors and everybody in the world around you believing that your child is not in there.
Right.
And so,
Right.
it was more like a little child, can't comprehend what you're saying. And
That-
so they talk louder and slower.
Yeah.
Good job, good looking. And I know that it's intended in a kind way. I mean,
Yeah.
they give, like, those people are giving our kids attention, which is beautiful. So I never want to criticize someone, but
Right.
I just, Beau is, as most spellers are, becoming an advocate, and
Yeah.
he wants to save all of the non-speakers out there from their isolation and then their being trapped in their bodies, and give them what he's been given, which is freedom.
Right.
And at
And
least he
yes.
has, he can fulfill his dreams. He can at least attempt and express what his dreams are. And we can get on that path. We can, together as a family, we can create that path to see if we can achieve his dreams. And, it's
I,
just a
we
dream to be on the path, right?
That's so true. I want to talk about dreams in a bit, but I do want to kind of return to he wants to be an advocate, and that's been Joey's big thing too. He really wants to be an
Yes.
advocate.
Yes.
Joey struggles a lot with knowing that his mom is a content creator, and I'm asking him quite often, can I record this? And he
Yeah.
will tell me no a lot. We asked one time, why the no? Just like, not that we're questioning it. We just want to know why you don't want to be recorded during spelling. And his
Mm.
concern was that there's so many people critical about the fact that they're not doing it perfectly, like whether
Oh,
or not I'm sitting next to him, which is ridiculous. Like, like what is sitting next to him going to do, or whatever it might be, whatever the criticism. He doesn't want other spellers to have their opportunity jeopardized because he can't do it perfectly.
Mm,
And I've really tried to explain to him that I think you are teaching people that it doesn't necessarily come immediately where they're
yeah,
picking up, a board and going boom, boom. Like we have to show the path to get there. So
true.
he just has expressed he wants to be a good advocate. That's really what it comes down to. And because there are people that
And
are
he wants
critical,
to be
which
a better speller, right?
and
Before
he
he
wants to be a
becomes,
better speller. And
yeah,
he's like, I need more practice, is what he tells me. I need more
yeah,
practice.
good
But
for
yeah.
him.
And I don't really care about the naysayers anymore. I think they're actually kind of funny. I think it's so ridiculously silly to criticize something that we are literally watching in front of our eyes. Why are people against it? I mean, that's the big thing. Like, if there was any other kind of therapy that was working, why would you be against it unless maybe it's you're part of an industry that has a lot to lose? And I think
Mm,
that's really what it comes down to. And I don't want to get into the negativity
mm-hmm,
behind any of that right now. There's so much
mm-hmm,
excitement to share that that's the last thing
mm.
I want to do is go
But
rogue
it's
here.
reality. It is
But it is
reality.
reality.
Mm-hmm,
And
it's
we
hard.
are we are having to face that right now, but we go
Yeah.
forward without apology. Both Julianne and I do. But let's circle back to the dream part, because this is something that you taught me recently that Beau had been expressing, is that we never ask these kids what their dreams are. They're constantly just kind of going along for the ride because they've always
Mm,
had to.
mm-hmm, I know.
And we've never been able to before say, well, what are your dreams? And tell me
Mm.
about your experience with that with Beau.
Well, I mean, right off the bat, his very clear, concrete goal and dream is to attend college in person. And he wants to be a chemist. However, we still haven't gotten there yet where we've taken a chemistry course. But we're taking the steps now to get into a chemistry course. We've taken college math, and we're now on a homeschool program called Acellus, and we decided to go back and we're taking basically all the courses that he wasn't able to take in high school because they pull them. He was in a self-contained classroom and basically just doing
Right.
ABA and folding laundry
Right.
and going to
Yeah.
the store with the group and stuff like that. All,
Yeah.
they did their best, but they just had no idea that they're fully in there.
Right.
So that's predominantly like every time we talk about dreams, Mom, I want to be in college and I want to be in person. So there's so many things that we're doing to try to support that goal. And then the other dreams he has, I mean, can I stop
Yeah.
and can I read
Please.
another one, or should we talk about
Please keep
college?
going.
Well, okay, so we were spelling the other week because a couple weeks ago because we were creating some content for April Autism Awareness Month. And so Beau said, "My hopes for a bright future are when a girl dances with me face to face at a wedding."
Oh my God.
He wants to be he wants to be married. He wants to have children. Like that was another one of the first things when I first asked Beau long, long ago, "What are your dreams?" He spelled children. Yeah,
Oh,
I know. So they're just like us, you know? They they're just they're just like your average person. Like what are the top 10 things that an average person dreams about?
yeah.
Finding someone that they love and sharing their life with that person. And so our
Right.
non-speakers and our, profoundly autistic people, they have those dreams as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. I appreciate you sharing that. And it touches my heart so much, and so much appreciation that Beau is where he is today. And because of the fact that there's possibilities for him now, and trapped without the means of being able to express himself wouldn't have allowed that. And that's why spelling both Julianne and I are huge advocates of trying to help people understand that this is a possibility for all kids. Because
Yes.
certainly I didn't think, I'm pretty sure, Julia, when you first reached out to me, I go, yes, I'm aware of it, but I just don't think Joey would attend to it. Joey's pretty profound. I'm sure I said, or, he's very high needs. He's
And I
not
did the
going to
same
do,
thing. I did the same
yeah,
thing after seeing Elizabeth. I didn't think Beau was going to be one of those kids. I thought it was a small group of kids that could spell. I didn't know that it's almost all, if not all, of the kids who are profoundly autistic and not, speaking or not reliably speaking. They
right.
all can spell. And kids with Down syndrome, kids with
As well.
other other disabilities.
Cerebral
Absolutely.
palsy, what is being done with
Yes.
cerebral palsy now too, because we know the intelligence that cerebral palsy
Right.
holds.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's a similar situation, and I know that Elizabeth Vossler at her clinic in Virginia, I think they have 25% of their clients have other types of disabilities.
Interesting. I,
Yeah.
I like hearing that.
Yeah. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
one thing, Julia, that was interesting to me, when Joey first started openly spelling, Joey's twin sister, my daughter Mia, ever since she was little, she loved to tell me like what was her favorite part of the day, what was her favorite this, what was her favorite that. She loved to
Yeah.
always share with me what is her favorite.
Yeah.
So when I finally got some open communication for several questions, like he had a class on bridges, and
Yeah.
I said, can we ask at the end of the class, can we ask what is your favorite bridge? And every time we would ask like what is your favorite, he would be like, I I like all of them. Like he
Okay.
just didn't understand the point of having to tell me his favorite. It was so funny. It wasn't till months later that he's just like, do I have to pick a favorite? Like, is that a rule? Like, why do you want to know my favorite?
He's a cool
And I
dude.
go, you know what, Jody, you're right. That's really silly. Can you just like a bridge and not have to call it your favorite or not favorite? And so he's taught me a lot about communication too, and just the way because I'm sure for years he didn't have an option of having a favorite. It didn't matter if
Oh.
there was a favorite for him. So it's curiously interesting to me of how their minds are
Yeah.
working.
I mean, also, like, he's been gifted with this new freedom, like, in so many ways, with moving into his apartment and with
I
being
know.
able to spell. It's like he doesn't care about the small things. Like, he's just, probably blissing out that his dreams are coming true and that his
Yeah,
life matters and that he's
I know.
experiencing. I mean, that's another thing that Beau said his dream was to live with his brother or his friends.
Yeah.
So Joey's doing that, which is just beautiful. So he doesn't care about
He doesn't care
expressing what
what a
his
favorite bridge is.
favorite bridge is because
He's not
he's
he's
got
not
he's got
staying
his
awake
own
at night.
apartment with a cool balcony
Yeah.
right by the university. Yeah.
Yeah,
Good
he's
job,
living the
Mom.
dream. And that
Yes.
was really fun when the boys were together in Hawaii, and Bo was
Oh
so
yeah.
sweet to spell about what they were kind of telepathically
Yeah.
exchanging. And that was one of the
Right.
things, is they were exchanging
Right.
telepathically about the
The
apartment and
the
how cool it was.
apartments. Yes. Of course.
Of course. So
Get to the
and
good stuff.
let's briefly, right, exactly. Let's briefly talk about that, because um you had first talked to me about telepathy way before the telepathy tapes came out, because you
Yeah.
had noticed it in Bo yourself.
As you become a better speller and you start tapping into the other families across the country, you find out, or at that point before the telepathy tapes, we had heard that this was one of their gifts. Somehow, I
Right.
think, yeah, we all have it in us, and maybe these kids, because they're trapped in their bodies, they develop this sixth sense or this, this
Well,
other
I
realm.
think, and I don't even know if it's as much as they develop it or we all have it and then we get conditioned out of it. I think that
Could
tends to
be
be
that.
more of my thought is that we're
Yeah.
all born with these abilities, but when we can speak, we don't need to focus on it as much. And so, because
Yeah.
I think
That's right.
many babies are very telepathic in their own ways
Sure.
as well too.
True. True.
And so I think we just get conditioned out. But I mean, neither
Yeah.
here nor there. It doesn't really matter. The exciting thing is, it was funny because you first mentioned it to me, and I was like, oh, I'm on board for that party. Like where do I, 100%. I am not a skeptical type when it comes to things like that, and and then it was just the most wild and wonderful thing to see Joey and Beau just sitting there next to each other,
I
just
know.
happy as can be, and just they don't need to open their mouths, they don't need to move their bodies. They were just connected, which was
Yeah.
beautiful.
That's so cool.
And but you do that a lot with Beau. I mean, Beau has a lot of friends that he does this
He
with,
does.
correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a community here, and it's just it's been amazing. It's so transformative. And
Oh,
we'll have pool parties. We often have pool parties. And you know, all of these kids are profoundly autistic, and they all, you know, can't control their motor and their bodies, and they're, upstairs, downstairs, in the backyard, in the hot tub, running around. And but then now that we all know that they're spellers, or that they're telepathic,
yeah.
we look at them differently, we watch them differently, and we see like little smiles on their face where they're all like, one will go, and then the other ones will be, on the side, or, it's just so
Oh,
cute.
that's great.
Or Beau will go in his bedroom, and he'll put his pillows on his head, and we're like, what are you doing? Why are you spending so much time alone? Your friends are here. And,
Yeah.
he spells later, that he had to quiet everything down so that he could hear it better. He hasn't been doing that as much now, but he
Right.
used to do that. Yeah, and yeah,
Joey says the
he's
same.
kind of telling me
He
mind
likes a
blowing
dark
stuff.
room and a quiet home to be able to connect with his
He puts
sons and
that stuff
others.
over his head, his face. He'll cover
Yeah.
his face,
Right.
and
Right.
I didn't quite know what that was about until I heard a couple other kids were doing that too on the podcast.
Yeah, Joey has spelled before that he can connect with his silent amigos, but he can connect better if he's in the same room with them.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah,
So is that about what
yeah,
you've seen too?
we've got 4 or 5 kids that spell, and they come over, and they're all they're all communicating. And Mo tells me that they're like a little club when they go to the hill. They hang out together there too. So,
That's
yeah,
so great. It's
I
so
know.
this is
It's
just so
nuts.
darn fun.
It's
It
crazy.
is nuts. I know. Who would have thought? I
Yeah.
know. But I appreciate those boys because they brought us together, which is so great too. We're
Yes, of
having a lot of fun
course.
exploring this together. Lately, I got to see you recently, and I got to see how much more Bo is spelling faster, quicker, and
Mm-hmm.
now he's actually
Mm-hmm.
using. He was texting you, sending text.
Yeah.
So is he still pursuing the keyboard more and more now?
Yeah, I mean, he is, so you start with the stencils, the 3 boards, you move up to the 26 stencil, then you move up to the laminate 26, and then you move up to the keyboard. So now he is, depending on who he's working with. When he works with Renee, he's working on a keyboard, his
Oh,
practitioner.
he is. Good.
Yeah, and he really wants to, because he's taking a high school English course right now. And so he's going to be writing papers and things like that.
Right.
So having a keyboard will be really helpful. Yeah. Having it on the computer.
So let me ask because I think I'm kind of confused about it. Now, part of the reason that the spellers with apraxia who have such challenge with their brain body disconnect, their motor planning.
Yep.
It is harder for most to have fine motor skills than gross. Gross motor
Mm-hmm.
skills are easier for many of them than they are fine.
That's right.
But the keyboard is a fine motor skill as opposed to the spelling, which is
Well,
more gross motor.
they're still using their shoulder. When spelling to communicate is using the gross motor of the shoulder, and you create this myelination, right, of touching whatever letter it is, and then you're building to up to a smaller and a smaller, uh, you know, board. And so
Right.
so by the time you get to a keyboard, you're still using your gross. You're just
Sure.
you're just finely moving your shoulder back and your elbow back, forward, elbow back, forward. Fine motor for sure, the eyes, it's taken years and it's taken weekly sessions. And, we're really lucky that we have someone on the island. And I'm actually thinking about becoming a practitioner myself just because it's so hard for me to have friends who can't afford it. And I just want to be able to just, get some people, just get them going, just get them
Yeah.
going. And so, yeah. So, so it
So
is
that
fine and gross.
Right, right. I was actually just talking to somebody about that today who didn't have a practitioner in her area and about how it can be super beneficial
Okay,
to,
go ahead.
well, there's a couple things. First off, there is the foundation Communication for All, and that's Elizabeth Bonkers. Is that her name?
That's right. Elizabeth and her mom.
And her
And
mom, and it's yeah.
and
That is
they're
a
doing
really good a place to go if you cannot afford or
right.
don't have a practitioner and you want to start learning some things
That's
to
right.
do on your own.
She's got YouTube videos of how to start. But you can start. There are lots of nonprofits now who are giving out scholarships to start. So like
Oh, I'm
our
happy about that.
nonprofit gives out the 5 first lessons for free with the letterboard. And if you live in Hawaii, if you've been in Hawaii, you can apply for this scholarship. But there's Speller's Method gives out a scholarship. I Ask gives out a scholarship. Bunch of um, there's a bunch of nonprofits now that are giving out scholarships across the country to get you going. And then after that, it's really, the power of family members who just don't give up, who just, I watched Spellers the movie. That was the first day that Beau and I became where we worked on a laminate board because I listened to Dawn Marie in the movie and I listened to her cadence and her rhythm and I just started doing that with Beau and I was like, I hadn't had that because we're on an island. We don't have any practitioners who are as skilled as Dawn Marie. So
Right.
yeah, so you can people can do it, but they definitely have to want to do it. I mean, and want it and
What would
dedicate
you
like
say?
half hour a day.
Right. What would you say to those who have children that compliance to actually sit down and do a lesson like this seems absolutely impossible?
I know
I'll
it's
tell you my
hard.
story with Joey
Yeah,
and
yeah,
how challenging it was at the very beginning. I mean,
I'm
I'll
sure.
start with it because so Joey back, as anybody who follows me know, Joey likes to stuff his arms in his coat.
Right.
And he was going through a withdrawing from life phase at that
Mm,
point when he first started. He was
mm,
wearing gloves and he wanted a
mm,
hat and he
mm,
would just like hide in his little cocoon. And to get
mm.
him to come out was asking so, so much.
Right.
And so when he first started learning, they would let him just be in his little cocoon. And then just for the time that they were asking the question, we would like pull the arm out,
Mm-hmm.
maybe, and we would let him. I was actually just watching videos of his early sessions. He would wear gloves. And part of that is so many kids with apraxia don't feel where their fingers are. They
Mm-hmm.
don't
Yeah.
feel where their body's ends. That's part of the proprioceptive. And
Mm-hmm.
so wearing gloves would help him feel his hands better.
Yeah, they're so smart.
And so we might get like 5 or 6 questions, maybe answered, one word, that's it for an entire session. And when you're paying over $100 a pop for that,
Mm,
and you think, oh my God, is that even worth it?
mm,
Like is this really even helping him? And
mm,
for a while I didn't feel like it was. I was very ready to give up after 6 months, but we weren't doing it regularly. He
mm,
wasn't really cooperating. He would
mm.
often have meltdowns in the middle of it. He would just be like, he couldn't do it, and he would just start screaming and hitting his head,
Yeah.
and it wasn't feeling like he was enjoying it.
Mm,
So I'm thinking maybe this isn't for us, but yet, and I've heard this from other parents too,
mm,
there's a certain amount of, this might be that feeling of, is this our last chance at communication? Like, we've
mm.
tried everything else. I feel like I want to give this some time, because otherwise I
Mhm.
just have to concede to the fact that I will never be able to communicate with my son. And
Right. Yes.
I am not criticizing that. It was just
Right.
for anybody who chooses
Yes.
that. It
That's
was
right.
just for me. I I wasn't ready to give up on it yet.
Mhm.
And what happened for us, which was truly divine intervention,
Mm.
was we were driving down to Portland, like nearly 4.5 to 5 hours to go to a session, and have to go through the expense of spending the night
Mhm.
and the whole
Mhm.
gamut.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
he would
Mhm.
maybe attend for like 15 minutes, and then we'd have to go back. So our practitioner down there, one day after coming very sporadically, said, because we tried online, and online just never worked for Joey.
Mhm.
Joey's not exceptionally cooperative for me, but he is for other people.
Mhm.
So online wasn't working for us. So one day we were down there, and she's like, I've got good news. My boyfriend's being transferred to Bellingham. And so Meg was transferred to my own hometown. Once she got settled and ready, and we started going to her regularly, that's when things started to change. But the one thing I want to mention is,
Yes.
still to this day, Joey might have a really bad meltdown during a session. And
Yeah.
it only lasts like maybe 5 minutes or so. It's not very
Mm.
long,
Mm.
but it's almost as if he's got so much flowing through him that it's just overwhelming him. He has to
Right.
kind of scream a little bit,
Yeah.
hit his head a little bit, and then he
Yeah.
sits back down and he attends
Right.
to it again.
She's actually very skilled. She's right up
Extremely.
there with the top practitioners. So she is in Bellingham, Washington, and we do need to grow the number of practitioners. We just people should just continually to sign up, even if you're. I know that if you're a parent and you haven't taken the parent cohort and you want to become a practitioner, that I ask, they will be required to take the parent cohort 10 session course first, because they want to make sure
Right.
that you're going to be working with other people than just your own child.
Yes.
And so um, it's worth it. I would say, you just do a fundraiser. Like if you can't afford it, I would just, do everything you can to sign up for every scholarship that's out there, and I would fundraise, and I would get yourself trained, get somebody in the family who's consistent and going to become the communication partner. You know, most of the a lot of the really up and coming practitioners are out there. Many are moms. Many are moms
Yeah.
of spellers.
Yeah.
They
Right.
they really see it as being like their calling,
Yeah, I
and
know. And we're
it's
also
just
excited about it. We know the possibilities, and we
yes,
believe in it so
that's
strongly.
right, that's
It makes it
right,
even bigger.
yes.
So speaking of fundraising and all that you've done, you started the Hawaii Autism Foundation, which is an
Hmm.
incredible organization, and you help so many families with scholarships there in Hawaii. And you've been doing this a lot of years. On my website, Betsy on the Go, I have a link to the Hawaii Autism Foundation Spelling to Communicate page. And let me tell you,
Hmm.
it is the best place for resources for spelling to
Oh,
communicate. It's absolutely fantastic, which is I figured if I was going to have one link,
mm.
your page is the one I want to have because there's
Oh,
so many great places to go.
that's so sweet. I mean,
So
it'll take you to all these other places that,
right, exactly. But it's
kicking
one
butt.
link that brings you there.
Yes,
That's right.
yes, yes, yes. Thank you
So,
so
so
much. Yeah.
yeah, on the Betsy on the Go website, there's two links for spellers. One is the communication for all for the free for
Yes.
people who need free resources, and the other
Yes.
one is Hawaii Autism Foundation, and they both will give you great links to all the different programs that are out there.
Yes.
And thank you for all that your foundation is doing because you are not only helping people in your state, but you're really trying to work to be a resource for so many others.
Well, one of my greatest accomplishments was bringing you on board because, girlfriends, you're just, you've really done a phenomenal job at, getting the word out there. But yeah, I mean, I'm doing the
It's
best I can. I think we're all like, I'm trying to listen to what God wants me to do. And, when you're in it, when you have a child who is profoundly autistic, you know, it's just I just would have I rather focus on finding solutions and creating solutions
yeah,
than being in depression or sorrow
or
or
anger,
or
anger,
anger.
which
Yeah.
yeah, a
Yes,
lot of
which
people
is
are
like
stuck
I
in the
mean I
anger.
don't yeah, and I don't judge them at all, but that just was what I needed to do. And I kind of had some like spiritual guidance too. Just a lot of every time I put out there something big, I feel like, the angels come and a lot of people come and help. So I know
Yeah,
I'm on the right path when I start feeling like, ooh, things are opening up and and helpers are on the way. And yeah, because it's hard. It's not easy. All right, before we say goodbye, I have to tell you that Beau is being interviewed by Love on the Spectrum next week, Monday. I mean,
oh
I
my
don't
gosh.
know. Who knows?
It's funny. I was wondering if Love and the Spectrum was going to be brave enough to take on a speller because
I hope
honestly, I
so.
could see where they would just not want to go there. But boy, would that be incredible if they were willing to
Yeah,
do
I
that.
mean, my husband works in the TV industry. I mean, we met in the TV industry, so I understand how
Yeah,
production works, and I understand why they wouldn't choose a non-speaker, right? Like it's
yeah,
harder to, especially the format that
yeah,
they shoot in. But but you know, all you can do is just, follow what you think God wants you to do. And Beau's been
yeah.
spelling lately, Mom. I think God wants me to make films or be involved in TV that talks about, spelling.
Uh-oh.
That's he wants to
Oh,
advocate for his
Bo.
fellow non-speakers. He wants to free them. And what it, wouldn't it be fantastic for all of those kids across the world if we can get two
Yeah.
spellers who fall in love or don't fall in love, just go on a date.
Just go on a
and
date. I
and
love that.
I'll be holding the board like hiding on the side. And Beau,
Oh, so
we'll
good.
see. He
Whatever,
wants to
we'll
fall
find
in
out.
love.
That's
He
right.
wants
Well,
to fall in
Julianne,
love. He wants a
th-
girlfriend.
in follow up to that, I'm going to have you back on the show in a couple of months because there's so much more we need to talk about, and there's so much more follow up we need to talk about.
Yes.
And I just feel like we barely scratched the surface. So we will
Yes.
have you back on the show
Okay.
very, very soon. But thank you so much for being on today, everybody. Thanks
Mm.
for joining us and listening to
Mm.
our conversation. My love to you all, and back with you next week. Bye bye.
Bye. Aloha.